We will acquaint you with a unique world, a world of fierce warriors and wonderful romantics, a mysterious and legendary world, a world of poets and government officials, a world of great empires and nomadic culture, a world of eternal blue sky, the Turkic world. In the 8th century, in writings of authors of different languages, there appeared the name of the tribe named in Rus Polovtsi, in Central Europe Comans, and in the East Kipchaks. Muslim historians and Russian chronicles know Kipchak Polovtsi tribe as numerous and strong tribe, and the whole great steppe was called by its name. At first, ethnonym Kipchak was recorded on the stone of Selenga in 759. Iranian aristocrat Ibn Hordadbek, in his book of Ways and Provinces, written in 846-847, used the name of Karluks and Kipchaks. For the first time in Muslim sources, there were references to the two largest tribal alliances, perhaps the most significant for the subsequent ethnic history of Kazakh steppes. In the early 11th century, after the fall of Kimar Khaganate on the vast territory from Irtysh River to the Volga, the power passed to Kipchaks, who succeeded Kimaks. Thus, Kipchak Khanate arose at the beginning of the 11th century, in 1219. By the middle of the 11th century, almost the whole vast territory of Kazakhstan was subordinated to Kipchaks, with the exception of Semirechye. Their eastern border reached the Irtysh River, the western border reached the Volga, in the south, Talas River area and forest of western Siberia were their northern border. In 1045, a famous Persian poet, traveler and preacher, Nasiri Khosrow, first and forevermore called the land from the Altai to the Itil, Volga River, Deshti-Kipchak, Kipchak steppe. Half a century later, the Black Sea steppes became Polovets field, according to Russian chronicles, and in the early 14th century, a Persian historian, Hamdallah Kazvini, explained that Volga-Don steppes, formerly called Khazar steppe, had long been Kipchak steppe. In the 12th century, Kipchaks transformed into a formidable force and thrilled the whole Arabic, Persian, Slavic, Roman Germanic world.
Впервые имя Кипчак, Кубучак,
For the first time, the name Kipchak, Kubuchak, was used only in the 8th century, in 715, I think, in the Selenga stone. There are words of the Uyghur ruler who wrote, "When Turks and Kipchaks ruled over us for 50 years." Historians began to seek. They began to study carefully all written records of the previous period. But the name Kipchak was never found. Even if the name was intentionally forgotten, it had to remain in people's memory, to reflect somewhere in epics, legends, tales. There is only one memorial, Selenga stone, that mentions Kipchaks. Peoples don't fall from the sky and don't disappear through the earth. Nikolai Karamzin. In the middle of the 11th century, Kipchaks passed the Volga and in a short time subordinated many western Kangar tribes in the valley of Ten and Uzeo, Dnieper rivers. By the beginning of the 12th century, the lands occupied by Kipchaks were divided into two large associations, Western and Eastern. Kipchaks, who lived to the west of the Volga, joined together in a confederation led by Khans of Toksabar tribe. The confederation was divided into regions of 10 Kipchak, Dniester, located in the steppes of northern Black Sea coast, Polovetsfield, from 10 Dniester in the east to lower reaches of the Danube and the Carpathian in the west. Khans of Shahrukh and Boneh Khan dynasties were at the head of these formations. Kipchaks, who lived on the territory of Kazakhstan, formed a more centralized state, which was headed by Khans of El-Bari tribe. According to legends, Abar Khan was the founder of this state. According to legends, Abar Khan was the founder of this state, 11th century. Once in Turkestan, Kazakhstan, a tribe of southern Sakha Massagetes Mazguts suddenly attacked the central Sakha, Sarmats, Churmishes. All Churmishes were killed, but Sarmat's leader Tamir Bika, before she died, had time to hide her baby son in a hollow of a tree. The boy was found and raised by Turks. They called him Kipchak, Hollow. The Kipchak married 40 Turk women, and his children from them formed 40 tribes of Turkic-speaking Sakha. They became known as Kyrgyzes, that is, 40 girls, in memory of Kipchak's 40 wives, or Kipchaks. This is one of legends about Kipchak's origin. There are some more. When Aguz was defeated by Eid Barak tribe, with whom he had fought, he stayed on an island formed by a stream of 2 rivers and settled there. At this time, a pregnant woman, whose husband was killed in the war, walked into the hollow of a large tree and gave birth to a baby. He was in the position of Aguz's child. The latter called him Kipchak. This word is derived from the word kobuk, which means in Turkic a tree with rotten spine. All Kipchaks come from this boy. We found another version similar to Rashid ad-Din's legend in Aguznameh in Muhammad Haydar's version. And then Aguz Kagan with his army came to the river called Itil. Itil is a big river. Aguz Kagan saw it and said, "How can we cross the Itil stream?" In the army there was one stout beg. His name was Ulukordu Beg. This beg cut down the trees located on those trees and crossed the river. Aguz Kagan was delighted and said, "Oh, be back here, be Kipchak Beg." In genealogy of Bashkir Kipchaks, there is a legend similar to the above. Kipchak from Lukman Hakim tribe. His father was a military commander in Aguz Khan's horde. After his army was defeated and he died, Aguz Khan took care of Kipchak, who was born in the roads of war.
Во всех письменных источниках, где указывается иерархия тюркских племен, первыми упоминаются это, конечно же, тюрки во главе с родом Ашина.
In all written sources where a hierarchy of Turkic tribes is specified, of course the Turks led by Ashina clan are mentioned first. And Sur tribes are mentioned as the second, Turkic Sur Union. It is in the written sources. It is referred to in memorials of ancient Turkic writings. And then, historians offered a version that the word Kipchak was taken from the name amulet of Sur tribes. There was Turk Empire, Sur tribes mentioned as the second. There were Eastern Turk Empire, when it was destructed after a huge defeat by Karluks, Basmils, Uyghurs and Chinese from the other side. Surs perceived this defeat as intervention of supernatural forces. It was a great slaughter and almost a disaster for Surs. In the steppe tradition, Turkic tradition, and nowadays, in some Kazakh families, we often find out that children are given special names, amulets. The same variant occurred with Surs, when they, after the mass destruction by Chinese and Uyghurs, decided to deceive the evil fate, adopting a worthless name Kipchak, Kipchak, which practically means hollow tree, rotten tree, Kipchaks. And since then, they bear this name, Kipchak.
Практически означает дуплистое дерево, трухлявое дерево, кипчаки. И вот с тех пор они несут это имя, Кипчак.
Aguz Khan brought up this boy, and when he grew up, Aguz Khan gave him an army and sent to the banks of the Don River and Yedil, Volga. Kipchak and his descendants for 400 years dominated the banks of three rivers, the Don, Yedil and Yaik, over peoples and tribes of Urusas, Magyars, Aglaks, Bashkuts, etc. Therefore, these countries and the huge steppe territory of Kazakhstan for a long time were called Deshti-Kipchak. Abulgazi Khan, Shadjarat-i Turk book. In the process of movement of Kipchak nomad camps from the Volga to the Dnieper, the Black Sea and the Caucasus mountain spurs, several tribes settled in the vast territory occupied by reminders of Aguz Pechenek tribe. Development of the new steppe areas was not peaceful. It was accompanied by numerous clashes with representatives of various peoples. Reminders of tribal formation of Pecheneks, Toks and Caucasian lands were destroyed, expelled from the previously occupied areas, or put in a dependent position. In 1055, having approached to the borders of Russian principalities, Polovtsy, since 1061, began to make active incursions into Russian territory. In the 11th century, during clashes with Russian troops, Polovtsy, in many cases, came out winners. The power of Kipchak Khans was inherited from father to son. Tribe Boreals was considered dynastic clan, from which Khans came. Tribe Boreals was considered dynastic clan, from which Khans came. In Khan's headquarters called Horde, there was Khan's management unit that was in charge of Khan's estate and Khan's army. In the military and administrative relation, Kipchak Khanate, following the ancient Turkic traditions, was divided into two wings. The right, with the headquarters on Ural River, on the place of Turkic town, and the left, with residence in Signak town. The right wing was more powerful. Exceptional importance was attached to military organization and military and administrative system of control, because they reflected the specificity of nomadic life and were the most organic and suitable for the nomadic way of life. Besides the Supreme Khan, Kipchak clans had their Khans. The aristocratic top also included Tarkans, Beks, Baksaks and others. Khan's headquarters was in Signak town. In the late 12th century, Kipchaks experienced a period of crisis. They fought on two fronts, against Karakidans in Semirechye and against Khwarezm in the Sirdarya. Kipchaks were forced to make an alliance with Khwarezm Shah, and they gradually became dependent of Khwarezm. In 1182, Kipchak Khan Al-Karau Ran sent to Khwarezm Shah an embassy headed by his son Kadir Bugu Khan, who made an alliance with Khwarezm against Karakidans. Their campaign, held in 1182, ended with victory, and Kipchaks released Taras town with surrounding area from Kidans. However, the feud between Kadir Bugu Khan and his nephew Alp-Derek-i Naur weakened Kipchaks, and in 1200 Alp-Derek, who became the new Khan, recognized himself as a vassal of Khwarezm. After Khwarezm Shah defeated Karakidans, Alp-Derek took control of all the lands along the middle and lower reaches of the Sirdarya. In 1210, he moved the capital to Atrar and began to rule on behalf of Khwarezm Shah, taking title of Kair Khan. In that period, Western Kipchak suffered several defeats from Russian princes. In 1183, united Russian forces defeated Kubek Khan, the ruler of Deshti-Kipchaks, and in 1185, Kunashik, Khan of 10 Deshti-Kipchaks, moved to Rus, but he was defeated twice and had to retreat. Novgorod-Seversky Prince Igor decided to finish off weakened Kipchaks and to gain benefit from the spoils, but his campaign in 1185 ended with a complete defeat of Russian troops on Kayala River, and it was described in word about Igor's troop. West Kazakhstan Kipchaks, headed by Kazakh Khan, also participated in this battle. In the early 13th century, a part of Kipchaks, led by Khans, accepted Christianity. Uzeu Khan, Bek, was baptized by the name of Danila Kobakovich, and Kunashik's son became Yuri Konchakovich Kunashik, Khan of 10 Kipchaks. After Kunashik's death, the power over 10 Kipchaks passed to Khan Katon.
Где-то с X века, да, вот эта огромная территория от Северного Причерноморья до Саян и Алтая.
Since about the 10th century, this vast territory from the northern Black Sea steppes to the Sayans and the Altai was called Deshti-Kipchak. Desht means steppe in Persian language. That is Kipchak's country. This is a view from the side. How Deshti-Kipchak was united? Here it is the essence of your question. For the Persians, they were united. They were all Kipchaks, Kipchak steppe. And they said many enthusiastic things. But it had been inhabited by different Turkic tribes. For example, the Black Sea steppe Turks sometimes talk by the fire, say with Siberian Turks, Turks from Angara steppe, Balkar steppe, etc. That is, it is a dialectical thing. If we talk about the Kazakhs, we will quickly find the division into tribes and clans, or in the modern way into regions and districts. Oh, you are my homeboy, we were born in Almaty together, etc. This is a normal division. It is important that it unites people.
Это нормальное деление. Важно, что объединяет.
Kipchaks were not only nomadic cattle breeders, but also urban residents. In their possession there was a number of large cities: Siganak, Jand, Barchinli-Kent, Kanli-Kent, Saksin, Tamatar-Khan or Tmutara-Khan, Sharuhan, near modern Kharkov, as well as Yassi, Otrar, Urgench and Crimean cities. In the Middle Ages, Kipchaks played an important role in development of countries such as India, Egypt, Bulgaria, China, Byzantium, Georgia, Khwarezm. Kipchaks became a prominent component of the ethnogenesis of Kazakhs, Nogais, Crimean Tatars, Siberian Tatars, Bashkirs, Karakalpaks, Uzbeks, Kyrgyzs, Balkars, Kumyks, Turkmens and other Turkic peoples. It is known that in the pre-Mongol period, Kipchaks headed by Khan Atrak played an important role in the military organization of Georgian Kingdom of David IV and his successors. Kipchak Shamsar-Din Ildigis was the founder of Ildigizids dynasty in Azerbaijan. In hard times for Byzantine Empire in the early 11th century, when its existence was threatened by Turks Seljuks from the east and Pechenegs from the north, Kipchaks entered into an alliance with Emperor Alexei and helped him defeating Pechenegs. Kipchaks were the most numerous of all the Turkic peoples in Central Asia and Eastern Europe. A great poet, Magjan Jumabayev, in his work Flame, wrote that after Huns, our ancestors, Kipchaks, reached the Alps and Balkan Mountains. As Mahmud Kashgari proved, Kipchaks, Aguzes, and other tribes that were a part of this tribal union spoke remarkably pure Turkic language. Thus, it became a common language for all Turkic tribes that were a part of Kipchak union. Since the 11th century, before the Mongol invasion and after, Kipchak language became an international language. This fact was confirmed by manuscripts of European scientists, Orientalists, and records of Arab scientists. The fact that this language was learned in Egypt, India, and the Caucasus is directly linked to the political domination of Kipchaks. Orders and decrees issued by Altin Orda Khans, letters of different content, records of Arab scientists and Egyptian sultans, works of historical, philological, and legal nature of Armenian Kipchaks who conquered the lands of Georgia and Armenia were written in Kipchak language. A dictionary of Kipchak language, Code Cumanicus, written by Abu Hayyan, became the high point of recognition of Kipchak language. Code Cumanicus is a dictionary created in the 13th century, although on the title page of his manuscript, discovered in 1363 in Venice, in St. Mark's Library, is another date, 1303, the 11th of June. This dictionary got into the library as a gift of a great Italian poet, Francesco Petrarca. Code was written in Aguz Kipchak dialect with Latin alphabet.
В тот период действительно кипчакский
In that period, indeed, Kipchak component already began to spread throughout the vast territory: Europe, Southwest Asia, Central Asia, and China. They all practically had a close relationship with Kipchaks. There were dynastic marriages between Kipchaks and Russian princes and Khwarezm Shahs. And the most important thing, Kipchaks became a major military and political force. In the 11th century, Mahmud of Ghazni conquered India. His army practically consisted of Kipchaks. Kipchaks were Muhammad Khwarezm Shah's whole military elite because they concluded dynastic marriages with Kipchak ruling clan El-Borils. It was the superpower in Central Asia at that time. If they all literally hired and collected, they depended on Kipchak warriors, Kipchak elite.
Зависят от кипчакских воинов, от кипчакской элиты.
By the end of the 5th century, Kipchaks settled in half of Europe and the whole Central Asia. In Eurasia, Turkic speech drowned any other. Turks were the most powerful and the largest people in the world. East and West culture met in the Idel, Volga. Due to Kipchak's efforts, the ancient world united in a common space, which was called Eurasia. The book was written in the 13th century in the Crimea, in Solkhat town. On it we can judge who Kipchaks were. More than 700 years ago, everyone who lived on the territory from the Altai to the Danube spoke Kipchak language.
Если брать аналогии с сегодняшним днем, это все равно, что говорить на английском, на испанском, на французском, на китайском, на русском языке. То есть без кипчакского языка ты никуда. Это был один из основных дипломатических языков того времени. Книга эта, «Кодекс Куманикус», куманами называли в Европе кипчаков, состояла из двух частей. Первая часть – это словарь. Персидско-латинско-кипчакский или немецко-кипчакский словарь. Вторая часть книги – это описание разного рода обрядов, обычаев, каких-то библейских заповедей, ну и так далее, и так далее. Кстати, содержала она и 47 кипчакских загадок. Хотите послушать? Ну, одна из. Маленький же ребенок пьет воду у озера. Что это? Тараса на траве. Или еще одна загадка. У тебя нет, у меня нет, в горах нет, в пустыне нет, в степях нет, нет даже в кипчакском саде. Что это? Подумайте.